We see a wild rabbit running towards our protagonist, but it is quickly eliminated and a stone drops from the monster. 2 more rabbits advance towards him, but again, they are cut in half with ease. He comments that he hasn't gotten as out of shape as he thought, and perhaps he can do well as a swordsman. A trail of magical stones is left behind. Soon after, 5 goblins appear, and he thinks it's time to test support magic. He casts a spell that enhances strength, and it is explained that support magic can strengthen people or their equipment, and can be cast both on group members and on the caster themselves. The goblins charge at the protagonist, but he cuts them all down with a single strike. More goblins come at him, and the story repeats, with him eliminating them all with a single attack. The last goblin tries to flee but is also taken down. The protagonist explains that the weakness of support magic is its duration, and at that moment, his magic comes to an end. Shortly after, 5 more goblins appear. He activates support magic once again and continues to eliminate them. It is explained that each individual has a different duration for the magic, and in his case, it lasts 3 minutes. Support magic casters are always in a race against time. Flashing back to the past, we see our protagonist being expelled from the hero's group. He asks the hero, named Oliver, if this is a joke, but Oliver denies it. Orem says that they are childhood friends. Oliver comments that since they are from the same village, he gave him numerous chances, but moving forward, he wouldn't be able to keep up with the group's pace. Orem tells him to just kick him out, and Derek comments that he is just a liability. Oliver asserts that Orem simply isn't strong enough, and that's why he's out of the group. Orem explains that his group and Oliver's, formed 8 years ago, reached rank S in just a few years, and were the first to reach the 94th floor of the Southern Great Dungeon. For these reasons, people began to call them the Heroes Group. He remarks that maybe he isn't strong enough, but that also applies to all of them. Oliver interrupts him and says that they didn't understand how important a caster capable of using support magic was, but that upon seeing other rank S groups in joint attacks, they realized how incredible they were, and that Orem's support magic is very weak. Orem retorts that his support magic is weak because he is a swordsman, and, for that reason, he created his own original magic. Derek tells him to shut up, saying he changed classes because Oliver was better with the blade. Anelli adds that Orem isn't better than Oliver with the sword, and also isn't a good wizard. Orem tries to defend himself, saying he converted because the group needed a caster, and he was the one most suited for it. Additionally, he invented his own style of magic, and because of that, they were able to go deeper into the dungeon. Oliver interrupts him again, saying they've already found a replacement caster. The short one comments that they are the Heroes Group and need to move on, and they couldn't do that with him. Orem says that if there's no room for him, he'll do something else, and leaves the room. Aneli comments that he can use both sword and magic, but at most at rank A. Returning to the present day, we see the protagonist saying he's going to become an adventurer capable of using magic and sword at the same time, and that no one will ever call him useless again. He registers his adventurer card at the teleport crystal, which allows him to start from the 7th floor next time. Suddenly, 4 adventurers rush desperately towards the crystal. One of them comments that this couldn't have happened, while the leader says there's nothing to be done since they can't handle so many orcs. Another mentions it was wrong to leave the girl behind, but the leader replies that if they had stayed, they would all have been exterminated, and he made the right call since the girl had just joined the group that day, and he needed to prioritize the lives of his older friends. Orem thinks he shouldn't get involved, since she simply had bad luck in joining them, but he knows how much it hurts to be abandoned. Then, he turns to the leader and asks if they left a girl to die. They question who he is, and Orem simply states that they abandoned the girl and are now making excuses instead of saving her. The blonde-haired adventurer says that even if he had stayed, he wouldn't have been able to do anything and charges at Orem. Orem knocks him to the ground and says that since he's useless lying there, he wants to know where the girl is because he's going to save her. Then, we see the girl in a dead end, surrounded by orcs, pleading for them to stay away from her. She invokes a barrier spell, but knows she won't be able to maintain it with so many orcs striking at once. She calls for her sister, and at that moment, the barrier shatters. However, Orem arrives in time, casting a wind spell. He runs towards the orcs, blocks one of their attacks, and casts support magic on himself. The girl is shocked to see him using support magic, and shortly after, he cuts an orc in half. She can't decipher if he is a swordsman or a caster. Orem casts another support magic on his sword, and continues to slice the orcs in half with his sword technique. He cuts through several orcs at once, leaving the girl astonished by how strong he is. Shortly thereafter, all the orcs are eliminated. Orem asks if she is okay. She falls to the ground relieved to be alive and starts to cry. Once outside, she thanks him and introduces herself as Sophia Claudel. Orem recognizes the surname Claudel and notices the cloak she is wearing. He introduces himself as Orem, and Sophia comments that it is a wonderful name, asking if he would like to have dinner with her as a form of gratitude. Orem responds that he didn't save her expecting anything in return, but she insists, and he ends up accepting. Upon arriving at the venue, he notices that the restaurant has the same emblem he saw on her cloak, and understands clearly that she belongs to the Night Sky Silver Rabbits, one of the largest guilds in the kingdom of Noritante. Inside the restaurant, Sophia finds her sister, who gets irritated to see Orem near her, saying that it's too early for her to have a boyfriend. Upon realizing who he is, she comments that it has been a while since she last called his name, Selma Claudel. Sophia asks if they know each other, and Orem replies that they do, as Selma is the leader of a rank S part of the Silver Rabbits and the strongest enchanter in the continent. He explains that she is the one who made the enchanters famous, creating the idea that each member of the part has different roles: attackers to take down enemies, defenders to protect the group, and supporters in the rear. This completely changed the way adventurers think about exploring dungeons. He comments that in the heroes group, it was no different, and for that reason, he became an enchanter. Orem says that the reason they called him useless was by comparing him to Selma. Inside the dungeon, he affirms that just by seeing Sophia, he imagined they were from the same clan, but he didn't think they were sisters. Selma then asks why he is pursuing her 14-year-old sister. Orem replies that she has misunderstood everything, as he truly was going to have dinner with Sophia, but with pure intentions. Selma retorts by asking if he means to say that her sister is not good enough for him. Sophia intervenes, asking Selma not to be rude to the one who saved her life. Selma asks if Sophia went to the dungeon alone, and she confirms. Selma says they are going to the Great Dungeon the day after tomorrow, and Orem realizes that Sophia was exploring hidden from the clan. Selma comments that the important thing is that she is fine, and from now on she shouldn't go out alone. Sophia agrees. Selma thanks Orem for saving her sister and apologizes for being rude. She mentions that she hasn't seen him since the attack, and Sophia asks if they know each other. Orem responds that they met during last month's attack. Selma explains that they are both sorcerers, which is why they were together, and that he helped a lot. Sophia remarks that it seems like they have known each other for a long time. Selma asks if Sophia doesn't know Orem, and she questions if he is famous. Selma responds that he was part of the heroes group, leaving Sophia in despair. Orem tells her not to be nervous, especially since he is no longer part of the group. Selma wonders why they let someone so exceptional go, and Orem responds that they came to an agreement and that it was better for both sides. Selma asks if he is free at the moment, and Orem confirms. But before she can ask anything, he states that he doesn't want to join any group right now. Selma explains that he misunderstood and says that she has the perfect job for him to accompany them on the teaching expedition the next day. Orem asks what that is, and Selma explains that it is to train new recruits. He wonders why she wants him to go along, and Selma explains that a rank A group will lead the expedition, which will last 3 days, going down to the 50th floor. Orem comments that rookies would take 6 months to cover that distance, and that it is an insane schedule. Selma admits that it really is madness, but they will take the shortest path, as the sponsors are, insisting. Orem notes that it seems the Silver Rabbits are in a difficult situation, but the plan is so risky that she should have refused the sponsors. He realizes that in doing so, the new recruits who wouldn't stand a chance alone against a floor boss could explore deeper floors, strengthening the clan as a whole. Selma is shocked to realize that he understood everything with just a little information and takes note that he is smarter than she imagined. It is explained that in dungeons, it is necessary to defeat floor bosses that appear every 10 floors to advance. Normally, rookies get hurt or die in these battles, but if a veteran adventurer defeats the boss, the rookies can register their crystals and advance to the next floor. For this reason, Selma wants Orem to go along. Orem comments that it seems like an important mission for the Silver Rabbits and wonders if it's okay for a stranger to accompany them. Selma then holds his hand and says she respects him. Orem is shocked by the revelation, as she is the strongest enchanter in the kingdom, while he has just been expelled from the heroes group for being considered weak. He says he is happy with the invitation, but that he already has other plans. Sophia then comments that she will also participate in the expedition and that she would really like him to go with her. Orem asks for some time to think and makes it clear that he is not an enchanter now, but rather a swordsman. Selma is surprised. Orem says that she respects him as an enchanter, but if he goes on the expedition, it will be as a swordsman. Selma, still surprised, agrees, thinking that if something goes wrong, he can revert to the role of enchanter. She says that if he accepts, he should show up at Silver Rabbit's HQ the next morning. Later, Orem goes to an establishment and has tea with the owner. The man comments that the shop is doing well and thanks Orem for promoting it after becoming a great adventurer. Orem apologizes to the old man and says he is no longer part of the heroes group. The owner replies that it doesn't matter, as he is grateful to Orem and always will be. He gets emotional hearing this. The old man says he knows how hard Orem worked to get where he is and that he is sure his future will be bright, asserting that he will always stand by him. The next day, Orem goes to the Silver Rabbit's base, and a man introduces himself as Vince Briars, the leader of the Silver Rabbits of the Night Sky, commenting that he has heard a lot about him. Orem introduces himself and says it is an honor to meet such a famous clan leader. Vince says he heard that Orem left the heroes group. Orem asks for more details about the teaching expedition. Selma then begins to speak, mentioning that they will leave the first floor and go up to the 5th, the 21st of the Great Southern Maze, and that it will take 3 days. They will take a break on the 21st floor on the first day, on the 36th, on the second day, and on the third day, finish the expedition. We see a flashback of Vince receiving the information that Orem left the heroes group and saying that this is a great loss for the heroes group and that without him, they certainly will not be as strong. Selma agrees with him, as Orem's support magic elevated the group to another level. She explains that Orem's magic is less potent than average, but the speed with which he casts spells is 4 times greater than hers, not to mention that he uses various original spells. His analysis to foresee the situation and provide magical support at the right time is insane. Without him, the group will be much weaker, and now the Silver Rabbits must return to the top. Vince doesn't understand why the heroes group got rid of him, and Selma comments that enchanters are usually not given the credit they deserve. Returning to the conversation, Orem confirms if there will be 10 rookie groups and 5 escorts, including Selma and himself, and that the rookies will take turns handling the monsters, while if something goes wrong, the escorts should intervene. Selma confirms and asks if he has any more questions. Orem says just one more and asks why only 5 escorts will go on this mission, as if the absurd schedule is really necessary. It would make more sense to minimize the risk by bringing multiple ranking groups to support the rookies. Selma, a bit annoyed, says that their goal is indeed to get the rookies to the 51st floor, but that going through a bit of difficulty will help in their maturation. Orem realizes she is lying and that there must be another reason, but they probably didn't tell someone from the outside like him. Even so, he accepts the mission. Vince says his payment will be 2 gold coins up front and another 10 if the mission is successful, which startles him, as it seems like an excessive payment since it's enough to cover a year's expenses. Selma comments that Orem is worth that price and that it will be great to work with him. The next day, Orem arrives at the dungeon entrance and sees some rookies outside. Soon after, Selma and Sophia arrive at the dungeon entrance, and Orem notices that her outfit is different from the day they met. He asks if it's the rookie uniform and says it looks great on her. Sophia thanks him, blushing, and Selma panics, saying he knows how to compliment a lady and asks if he has a girlfriend or if he's a womanizer. Orem quickly denies, saying that in the heroes group there were women, and for that reason he learned to talk to them. Selma remembers that the heroes group all lived in a mansion, and Sophia asks where he is living at the moment. Orem says he is at an inn while looking for a permanent place. Once again, Selma panics, asking why Sophia wants to know that and if she plans to visit him, which she immediately denies, saying she's just curious. Returning to the main topic, Selma asks why Orem is so far from the rookies, and he says that, being an outsider, he was afraid of making them more anxious. Selma says she wants Orem's help to make them relax and heads towards the rookies, telling Sophia to join her group. She greets the other 3 escorts and introduces Orem to them, assuring them that he is strong. Orem introduces himself as a frontline attacker, Entum introduces himself as a defender, Bernard also as a defender, and Kat as a healer. Orem realizes it is a well-balanced group, but that if he hadn't shown up, someone would have to work twice as hard to fulfill the attacker role. He also senses that something is off about this plan. In another flashback, we see Vince saying that he knows how Selma feels about losing her trump card, but that he cannot place Orem in the first division, as he is an enchanter like her, and the group wouldn't keep balanced. Selma remembers that they haven't taken a step forward in a year, and that they can't recover what they lost, which is why she called Orem, and out of nowhere, he offered to go as a swordsman. If he can function as a front line, perhaps they can return to what they were before. Coming out of her thoughts, Selma says she is counting on the 3 of them in the coming days and goes to greet the rookies, announcing that the great expedition will begin heading to the 51st floor. She asks if they are scared to go so deep right away, but tells them not to worry, as she brought a powerful helper. If something happens, he will take care of it. She then introduces Orem to everyone, saying that he has already reached the 94th floor, where even the Silver Rabbits have not reached. He was a member of the Heroes group and knows the labyrinth better than anyone else. All the newcomers are fascinated to discover that he is a hero, and the group's morale rises considerably. Selma then asks the companions to do the final check, and Horam panics as she has placed him on a very high pedestal. However, Selma states that he truly made it to the 94th floor, and that she only did this so the newcomers could relax a bit, as entering the labyrinth is not a good choice when you are nervous. Horam is forced to agree with her and hopes not to have a headache. She asks him to accompany Team 10, as they are the most promising newcomers, and if they can work together as a group, they will reach the intermediate floors. Horam thinks she shouldn't trust the best newcomers to someone from outside. In front of Team 10, he introduces himself and says he will accompany them for 3 days. He asks if anyone from the group is late, and the blonde confirms that everyone is present. Horam finds it strange for a group to have only 3 people, as the fewer the members, the riskier it can be, especially being newcomers. The blonde explains that the group only has 3 people because no one can keep up with their pace. Horam worries about his attitude and asks everyone to introduce themselves. The blonde introduces himself as the leader of Team 10, Logan, a charmer who will one day surpass Selma. Shortly after, Caroline introduces herself as the defender. Horam asks if she will put on her gear when they are inside the dungeon, as she is not equipped. Caroline replies that she is a defender who doesn't use a shield or armor. Horam asks if she is the type who dodges instead of blocks, and Caroline confirms, saying she doesn't want monsters to touch her but rather to kill as many as possible. That's why she chose to be a defender, to stay as close to the monsters as possible. It is explained that a dodging defender uses speed to avoid attacks. Horam comments that it is hard to be an evasive defender without combat experience and asks if anyone from the clan opposes this. Logan confirms, but says she ignored everyone. Caroline retorts that Logan also doesn't listen to the teachers. The two begin to argue, being interrupted by Sophia, and Horam realizes he has been placed in a problematic group. He asks the next to introduce herself, and Sophia says she is a rear attacker. Even though she only says normal things, Horam feels at ease inside the dungeon. The expedition begins. Horam notices that despite the chaos outside, as soon as they enter the dungeon, everyone becomes quiet. Caroline asks why a member of the hero's group is on the expedition and questions if he doesn't see their clan as a rival. Horam replies that he is no longer part of the hero's group, leaving Caroline surprised since it is a group admired by everyone. Horam says that is none of her business. Caroline asks if he knows Sophia. Horam confirms and asks the reason for the question. Caroline says it's nothing special, just that Sophia mentions someone amazing would come with them and wonders if that someone is Horam. Sophia confirms, saying that Horam saved her life. Caroline tells Sophia to relax, as they have a hero with them. Horam wonders if she is saying this just to calm Sophia down. 2 wolves try to attack Horam from behind, but fall into magical traps. Horam realizes the traps are working very well and that, since they don't have much time, this method is ideal for avoiding unnecessary fights with enemies that appear from behind. In the blink of an eye, they reach the 20th floor. Horam comments that he closely observed how they fight, and that, if they continue like this, they will have no problem completing the expedition. He thought Logan was just an arrogant newbie, but he realizes that he is very skilled as a charmer, and that if he can endure longer battles, he could easily join an A-rank group. The only problem is that Logan doesn't know how to give orders, which is crucial for a charmer, but Horam believes he will get accustomed to it over time. As for Caroline, she is extremely fast, so being an evasive defender is not a problem. However, there are 2 concerning points. The first is that she attacks monsters immediately upon seeing them, and the second is that she uses only 2 daggers as weapons, which could reduce the group's offensive power. Finally, Sophia is not as impressive as the other 2, but she is already stronger than an average novice. However, she is a bit passive, although Horam believes that will change once she gains more confidence in the group. He looks forward to following her development. Horam and the other supervisors defeat the boss of the 20th floor. Selma asks all the newcomers to register their cards in the crystal and then rest, as they have achieved the day's objective. Elsewhere, Selma asks Horam what he thought about being a companion. He replies that Team 10 has a lot of potential, but their teamwork is weak, and he was especially worried about Caroline. Selma, somewhat awkwardly, says she has already improved a lot from what she used to be, which only worries Horam even more. They say their goodbyes. The next day, Horam picks up the newspaper and is surprised to see that the heroes group announced a new member, with the news splashed on the front page. Now, everyone will know he was expelled from the group. He thinks that if any novice from the expedition reads the newspaper, it might affect their opinion of him, but dwelling on it won't do any good. Then, he makes his way to the meeting point. On the way, a girl runs after him, and Horam realizes it's Luna. He remembers that even when everyone started treating him poorly in the heroes group, Luna continued to treat him the same way. When he was expelled, she was outside, running errands for her family. Luna approaches and asks him to return to the group, saying they need his strength. Aurum asks if this is really the desire of everyone, as after the article he saw in the newspaper, he cannot imagine it is. Luna replies that she hadn't seen the article and that this is her opinion, assuring him she will convince the others. Aurum realizes she is serious, but feels it is too late. He declines her request, saying he cannot return because of the article and has no desire to return to the group. Luna apologizes for not having read the newspaper, holds his hand, and reminds him of the promise they made to finish the Great Labyrinth together. Aurum says the promise was made by him, Luna, and Oliver, but it was Oliver who expelled him from the group, so that promise will never be fulfilled. Then, he walks away. As he distances himself, Aurum wishes that the three of them could have upheld the promise together, but understands that there is no going back. Everything ended that day too. Thus, as Aurum walked, he had anticipated that the issue of the article would arise, but admits it caught him at a very bad moment. Now, as an instructor for the newcomers, he wonders if they will still trust him after reading that news. This is how we hear the newcomers commenting on the subject. Logan only thinks about what Aurum told them yesterday, that he had left the group of his own accord. However, if he had actually been expelled, that is something completely different. At that moment, Aurum arrives, greeting everyone. Everyone greets him normally, except for Logan. Aurum comments that today the newcomers are a little different, and assumes it is normal for them to be confused. After all, Selma praised him too much, and now they have read the newspaper. At that instant, Selma and the others arrive. She apologizes to him for not being aware of what had happened. Aurum says she doesn't need to apologize and that she cannot be shaken when they still need to go exploring. Nevertheless, Selma feels bad for having used Aurum as an example to inspire the newcomers, acknowledging that she should have been more cautious. In any case, for Aurum, that is fine. He also apologizes for putting her in that uncomfortable position. He says he will support her in the exploration and asks her to keep her composure. The same applies to the rest. At that moment, someone asks if it is true that they reached the 94th floor. Aurum confirms, and they comment that they are still impressed. Moreover, his performance yesterday was impeccable, and they hope it continues the same way today. After that, Aurum goes to talk to his protégés. Caroline greets him very naturally, and Logan at least tries to do the same. Aurum asks if they know about the newspaper. To Sophia, that article is false, and Caroline doesn't give it much importance. However, Logan asks if it's true. Aurum replies that almost everything is true, that he is not the hero they expected, and he blames himself for keeping it a secret. Logan still has doubts about him, but Sophia knows that Aurum is very strong. She and everyone else saw how he defeated dozens of orcs in an instant. For her, Aurum lacks no strength. Aurum thanks her, and, using her words, mentions that he has enough level to take them to the 51st floor. And although he is no longer one of the heroes, he swears, like Orjandura, a simple explorer who will protect them at all costs. That is why he wants them to trust him. Like yesterday, the girls support him, but Logan feels a bit foolish for having been so excited the day before. Now, already on the 21st floor, they need to reach the 35th floor. The difference is that this time the leaders won't give any instructions until they reach the 31st floor, the first of the intermediate floors. Caroline defending and Sophia burning the enemies. Aurum uses praise and is also happy that they still trust him, but Logan remains distant. Thus, little by little, they arrive at the 31st floor. From here, Aurum remains alert to begin giving instructions. At that moment, he stops them, warning that he detected monsters ahead. Then, we see several goblins appearing. Aurum orders Caroline to distract them, and she moves forward to engage in hand-to-hand combat, while Sophia takes care of the orcs coming from behind. Aurum tells Logan to use his support magic, but before he even finishes the order, Logan jumps ahead and grants an agility boost. Although Aurum notices he is doing well, Logan sees it all as basic instructions and underestimates him because of the level. Caroline receives Logan's boost and manages to slash a goblin, but on the other hand, Sophia is frozen. Logan wonders what she is doing, remembering that not long ago she was attacked by orcs, imagining she still has trauma. But above all, he wonders why Aurum doesn't seem like he's going to help her. Seeing the orc approaching, Logan decides to go over there, but at that moment, Aurum uses his support magic to slow down the orc. Once done, he approaches Sophia to reassure her and ensures her that everything will be fine, as she has her companions by her side and also him. This makes the little redhead feel more secure. Focusing, she manages to conjure a spear of fire with which she incinerates the orc. Thus, everyone is impressed by that magic. Oren points out that the redhead can use advanced level magic. Caroline congratulates her. Similarly, the protagonist, also Logan, continues to ponder what just happened. Confused, he wonders who the hell Oren is, and also questions whether he was really expelled from the hero group due to lack of skill. After a long time, we see the group arrive at the 35th floor. There, they come across a death tarantula. Logan doubts he can defeat it with his current power. However, Oren begins giving instructions and orders Logan to enhance Caroline's agility and endurance, as well as strengthen Sophia's magic. Logan is surprised to see that he continues to issue orders as if nothing had happened, but just when he was about to apply his support magic to Caroline, she runs away. Logan tries to chase after her, but Oren stops him. He reminds Logan that if he goes to the front line, he will be exposed. Addressing Caroline, he indicates that she should jump over the monster and attack it from behind. The orange-haired girl obeys, plunging her daggers in and running over them, tears the entire body of the creature apart, finishing the attack with great style. Upon landing after doing this, Oren orders her to keep the monster's attention. From that point, he warns her to be careful, as it is a venomous spider. Logan, once again, strengthens her. Thus, we see Caroline dodging and repelling the attacks. Now, Oren asks Logan to take care of Caroline's mobility. Then, he orders Sophia to immobilize the monster. The redhead conjures slicing wind magic and launches air blades that dismember the tarantula's legs. Caroline begins to celebrate, but Oren orders Logan to immediately increase her strength as well as her technique. Logan asks why, but Oren says it is already too late, so he should do it immediately. Just at that moment, the monster traps Caroline with its web. Oren screams for her to cut the web with her daggers, but the orange-haired girl cannot do it. Then, Oren tells Logan to use another enhancer on Sophia, while the redhead prepares an offensive spell, a rock arrow. Seeing that the boy can only maintain 3 spells at the same time for now, Oren decides to discreetly help by strengthening the thread of Caroline's daggers. This way, she manages to free herself, and, along with Sophia's magic, they finally defeat the tarantula. The girls celebrate, Oren congratulates them, but Logan cannot help but think about the true strength that our protagonist hides. In the afternoon, Selma appears giving a speech before the last day of exploration. She orders all the youths to rest well and return in perfect condition. On the other hand, Orun was returning home. The other group leaders ask for a moment with him, mentioning that they will eat together and would like him to join them. Orun is surprised by this, as, even though everyone knows the news, they still invite him. Nevertheless, he accepts and ends up being taken along while they talk on the way. Meanwhile, in the carriages of the new recruits with the greatest potential, Logan asks Sophia if it is true that Orun saved her a few days ago. She confirms it. Logan then asks if he was alone, and Sophia replies again that yes. Thus, Logan asks her to tell more details about everything he did at that moment, asking about the spells used and his fighting style. Sophia comments that he used an incredible spell, something like a wind shockwave. Moreover, he used support magic to reinforce his sword, or at least that's how she remembers it. Logan recognizes this as thread enhancement, a support spell applied to weapons rather than people, the same one he used on Caroline's daggers to help her break free from the web. At this moment, Caroline admits to being surprised, as she clearly felt that her daggers suddenly began to cut much better. Logan asks Sophia again if Orun wielded a sword when he saved her. She confirms, adding that he sliced through the orcs one after another. Logan is impressed by the fact that Orun can fight with a sword and use support magic at the same time. Sophia comments that she doesn't know all the details, but Orun said that after leaving the heroes, he changed his role from attacker to vanguard. This confuses Logan, as he did a perfect job today as an enchanter, remembering how he used his support magic and gave clear orders to Sophia, Caroline, and himself. Logan acknowledges that he misjudged him that morning. He had been disappointed to learn that Orun did not leave the hero group voluntarily, but was expelled. This made him feel betrayed, and that's why he was furious. However, during the battle against the orcs, Orun secretly reduced the agility of one of them. This is a weakening spell, a debuff that reduces the opponent's power. Logan recalls hearing that even the great Selma doesn't often use this type of spell, as they are difficult to apply, but Orun seemed to master it with total ease. Already in the battle against the death tarantula on the 35th floor, it was when he finally understood the importance of formations. If the defender can draw the enemy's attention, the attacker and support can calmly prepare the next move. This is the ideal way to think, but what surprised him the most was that Orun calculated exactly when the support magic from his companions would run out. He even predicted the last attack from the death tarantula. Orhum anticipated what could happen in the battle, so Logan realizes that there is a huge difference between him and Orhum. Still, that doesn't answer the question he carries. Why did Orham change his role from frontline attacker? Meanwhile, Orham is with his companions enjoying the delicious food they brought. They tell Orham that today's meal is on them and that he can order whatever he wants. At that moment, Berna asks him if he has been to many parties when he was with the hero group. Orham replies that he hasn't, as he also did administrative work and hardly had time to socialize with them. The guys lament that he went through that and even consider it cruel that they made that article about him, suggesting that it's best to simply forget it. Then, changing the subject, they ask if he wasn't an enchanter in the hero group, since when they met him, he said he was a frontline attacker. Orham clarifies that at the moment he is a swordsman, as he changed roles when he left the group. The curious ones ask why. Orham then reveals that in the beginning he was a swordsman in the hero group, because being a swordsman had always been his biggest dream. One of them asks if that was influenced by his parents, or if any of them were also swordsmen. Orham replies that it was because of his grandfather. A long time ago, a monster appeared in his village, and his grandfather, an old explorer, defeated it with a single sword. That fascinated him deeply and made him decide he would become a swordsman. Knowing this, they ask why he became an enchanter if he wanted so much to be a swordsman. Orham reveals that it all started when they reached the lower floors. The pace of conquest plummeted, and although it was normal since the monsters were much stronger at that time, they didn't understand that. To progress faster, they began to observe the enchanters who were gaining fame, and as Orham was skilled at everything, the choice ultimately fell on him. The guys understand that this was for the good of the team. After all, that was how they managed to reach the 94th floor. However, Orham responds that it was nothing of the sort. What they really should have done was become stronger instead of rushing to advance. They ask him what he means by that. Orham avoids answering and changes the subject, but in his thoughts he comments that because of this, their chances of going beyond the 94th floor are practically nil. Then, we return to the girls. While bathing, Sophia comments that there is only one day left to finish the exploration. Caroline recommends that she say goodbye properly to Orham, but this makes her a bit down. She says she wishes he could stay with them. In light of this, Caroline suggests that she simply ask, assuring her that he will definitely agree if it's her asking. Sophia hesitates for a moment, but in the end, she makes her decision. The next morning, we see all the adventurers gathered at the entrance of the dungeon. At that moment, the famous hero group appears, heading into the same dungeon. The following morning, Orham heads towards the cave, thinking that this would be the last day he leads the young group. Not far from the entrance, he spots Sophia and the others waiting for him. They all greet him warmly, and he can already feel that the group seems to have more confidence in him today than the day before. Even Logan seems much more receptive and confident towards him. Then, he speaks up, saying that since today is the last day, Sophia wanted to say something to Orham and starts nudging the girl with her elbow, pushing her to express what she feels. However, Sophia seems too intimidated and shy to express her true feelings. It turns out that while showering the night before, Sophia ended up telling Carol that she wanted Orham to stay in the Night Rabbit clan and help them reach the top. Before she could gather the courage to open her heart to Orham, however, he gets called by Selma and tells Sophia that he will talk to her later before walking away. As he walks towards the rest of the guides, he overhears some newcomers discussing how the hero group would also be going to the dungeons that day. They would conduct a test run with the new formation to ensure everyone was working in sync. Orham wonders which floor they would try to enter, and soon discovers that it wouldn't be the deepest floor, 94, but that they would only start at 92 to ensure the new group was functioning as it should. Orham is shocked to hear this, as he does not believe the hero group should start from the 92nd floor, especially with a new member in his place. In his opinion, the right thing to do would be to first go through lower floors to test teamwork. In the end, he decides that it is a complete waste of time to think about the hero group and that he should focus on what he came to do there. Back at floor 92, Oliver, the group leader, motivates his team, stating that they shouldn't have any trouble clearing those dungeons, but that they still needed to keep their guard up. He then turns to the newest member of the group, Feely, a green-haired enchanter, and asks her to show what she is capable of. While the stupid wizard comments that Feely is not a useless jack-of-all-trades like Orham, then they shouldn't have any problems. Oliver then looks at Luna, who still hasn't said a word in silent rebellion, since she never wanted Orham to leave. However, Oliver believes that after this foray into the dungeon, even Luna will have to agree that their decision was correct, and that Orham was the problem. It turns out that Luna wasn't even part of the plan that Oliver and the others devised to expel Orham from the group. She only found out about it the night Oliver was congratulating Philly for joining the group, group and organized a welcome party in her honor. Anne and Derek mocked Aurum, saying that now, with a real enchanter instead of a useless jack-of-all-trades, they would complete the dungeon and reach the 92nd floor in no time. Anne even told Philly that they apparently had a ton of money, but Aurum was so careful with expenses that he never overspent on anything for the group's personal needs. Philly feels a bit uncomfortable and asks if the group's funds shouldn't only be used for team-related things and not for personal use. But N dismisses the concern, saying they had plenty of money and that there's no point in having money if you don't even know how to spend it. Oliver intervenes in the conversation and says they should have already wrapped up matters concerning Aurum and moved on, as he was no longer relevant to them at this point. The moment they raise their glasses in honor of Philly's entrance into the group, Luna bursts into the room, panting, and tells Oliver she needs to speak with him. Suddenly, she notices Philly, whom she doesn't even know at that moment, and asks Oliver if they can talk privately. Oliver responds that they can and should talk right there in front of everyone. With no choice, Luna tells them that she just heard that Aurum is going to join a network with the Silver Rabbits tonight, and asks how that is even possible. Derek and Anne look confused, and Anne asks how he managed to get into the Silver Rabbits in just 3 days, even after they had said how weak he was. Derek asserts that he must still be showing off his rank S badge that he owes to the group, and that's how he got the job. Luna, confused, asks what the hell they are talking about. When Oliver tells her to calm down and listen, before he could continue, N interjects and tells Luna that the useless jack-of-all-trades Aurum left the group 3 days ago. The news that Aurum left the group stuns her, and she wonders aloud if Aurum finally gave up on them. But Derek, the giant idiot, opens his mouth too wide and says the opposite. Aurum didn't leave the group. They expelled him forcefully for being a loser. Luna is shocked and turns to Oliver asking if that is true. Oliver calmly responds that they are telling the truth and tries to introduce her to Philly, the new member. Luna cuts him off immediately, saying she made it clear that she would oppose anyone who took Aurum's place, which irritates Tankasiro, who shouts at her to shut up since the new member was trying to greet her. Oliver, however, calms Derek down and tries to reason with Luna, arguing that Aurum was no longer good enough for the group and that he would only be holding them back from now on. Luna says she doesn't agree with any of that, as Aurum is the core of the group, the main reason they have come this far, stating there's no way to advance any further without him. Then, the bastard comments that she is the only one who thinks Aurum had something special, and that in any case, nothing more could be done, as the decision had already been made and Aurum was expelled from the group. Oliver tells Luna that they need to discuss immediate plans and states that, as it would be the first time all of them would work alongside Philly, they should start at the 92nd floor and then slowly advance to the 94th. Luna, however, immediately rejects the plan, saying she has no desire to die as the others seem to. Derek laughs at that, asking how the hell they could have a desire for death if they were starting from the 92nd when they had already managed to reach the 94th. Luna replies that even if Philly is a highly skilled enchanter, they should start working on the lower floors first and only then, maybe move on to the higher ones. Eric, once again with that hard-headedness, asserts that they have already cleared the 94th floor, so why should they start lower? Luna retorts that they must be crazy to think that way, as the 92nd floor houses the Black Dragon, and the last time they fought it, they barely made it out alive. N laughs and responds that was back when they had a really weak enchanter in the group, and facing the dragon this time should be a piece of cake. Oliver insists that they are just going to check how well they are working together and nothing more than that, so they don't necessarily need to fight the Black Dragon. Luna tries to argue, saying that even so, they should start much lower, but Oliver interrupts her, saying the decision has already been made and cannot be changed anymore. Back in reality, the heroes group finds themselves face to face with the mammoth, which last time was easily defeated, but now seems to be putting up quite a fight. Oliver charges at the mammoth and tries to strike it with his sword, but the creature manages to block the attack, pushing Oliver back behind cover while Derek prepares for potential counterattacks. As soon as he gets behind cover, Oliver's buff fades and he realizes that every time the buffs run out, his body feels heavy, as if he is carrying an enormous weight. He turns to his daughter and asks why the buffs are running out so quickly. Philly replies that she still hasn't fully understood how everyone fights together, so it should improve with time. This surprises Oliver a bit, who remembers how Aurum managed to understand everything about them in the first hours of the first day together, in the dungeon. Suddenly, the mammoth fires an energy blast towards Derek, who tries to block it but ends up slipping, and the beam is deflected toward N, who yells at Derek for being an idiot. Even Derek himself wonders why his blocks aren't as effective since that attack should have been easy to defend against. En decides to join the fight and unleashes fire blasts at the monster, but they barely tickle the mammoth, which leaves Oliver confused. He shouts for En to take the fight seriously, but she replies that she is doing exactly what she always does, only for some reason her attacks feel much weaker. Oliver orders his daughter to increase En's magic damage again, and she does as requested, but still, when En uses her fire blast against the mammoth, the attack leaves no scratch. In retaliation, the mammoth fires another energy blast and almost hits En, who can barely hide behind a rock. Oliver is stunned because Philly's magic should be much stronger than Orum's, yet they are being beat up by a monster they had no trouble with the last time they fought. Another energy blast in their direction snaps him back to reality. He can barely dodge as the next beam is blocked by Derek. Oliver tells En to flank the monster, but she is unsuccessful as the creature manages to stop her and counterattack, forcing her to retreat in a hurry. Oliver immediately turns to Feely and tells her to keep an eye on the monster's attacks and warn them. Feely responds that it's impossible to do that, while doing all the other things, but Oliver insists that it's a charmcaster's job to observe the flow of battle. En intervenes, saying that Philly is completely useless and they should have never accepted her into the group. Oliver then realizes that none of them seem as strong as they used to be, and he can't even draw out all the power from his sword. In theory, Philly's magic should give them a massive power boost. So what exactly is going wrong? Before they can decide what to do next, the black dragon emerges from the depths of the dungeon and starts flying towards them. Luna begins to sweat in fear and screams that they need to get out of there as fast as possible. The dragon descends to the ground, crushing the mammoth beneath its body without any difficulty. Oliver is shocked and wonders why the hell the black dragon is coming out of its territory, as that shouldn't happen. Still, he refuses to flee, saying that they have defeated it once and will do so again. Derek immediately positions himself to block the dragon's fireball, but to his surprise, he is nowhere near as strong as before and is thrown back by the attack. En tries to use her fire magic, but even hiding behind a rock, she ends up getting hit and faints. Luna immediately tells Oliver that they need to escape, but Oliver only orders his daughter and Derek to go, then charges his special attack against the dragon's fireball while attacking at the same time. He can barely stay on his feet and is knocked back by the shockwave. He falls to his knees, confused and dazed, not knowing what to do. Luna quickly holds him and says they need to use an emergency teleport crystal, or they will die there. Feely warns that the emergency teleport will, however, send them directly to a lower-rank boss room where they will have to fight again, but Luna insists they have no other choice. Oliver agrees, gathers the rest of the group, and opens the portal to escape. However, before they can cross it, the dragon dives in for an attack, pushing them back and, to everyone's absolute horror, enters the portal before disappearing. At first, Derek thinks this might have been for the best, but Luna says that it was the worst thing that could have happened because now some low-level adventurer group will die at the hands of the dragon. She insists they need to return to the guild immediately and force the teleport of anyone still in the dungeon. Oliver agrees and they start running out. It's then that Luna tells them the reason everyone felt so weak was that Orum had developed original spells that multiplied his magical attack power by 50 times. Philly is shocked, as even Selma only managed a 10-fold increase, but Luna claims it's true, and that's why they felt so strong. In reality, they are only strong when they are with Orum. Without him, they are just a mediocre group of adventurers. Oliver, however, refuses to believe this and vows to kill the dragon without Orum. As they all run towards the guild, hoping the dragon hasn't taken a life yet. Back on the 50th floor, Orum tells his group that once they reach the 51st floor, their objective will be complete and they will return for the day. With the help of the teleport crystal, all the members of the group nod in agreement, but Orum feels a strange foreboding in his stomach. He looks around but finds nothing out of place. Then he raises his gaze to the dark sky, with clouds completely covering the sun, and wonders why he feels this way. Everything seemed to be going well at that moment. Soon, they will face the floor boss, which shouldn't be a big deal for any of the guides. After that, they could wrap up the day and return home with the mission successfully completed. So why does he feel this strange warning, as if something had gone terribly wrong and they needed to get out of there now? Carol's voice interrupts his thoughts, as she asks what kind of monsters they can expect to face this time. Orum notices the spark of excitement in her eyes and replies that she should be a tank, whose main job is to protect the other companions. She can't just run out against the enemies, hoping to defeat them all alone. Carol, however, doesn't seem to agree and counters that if she can handle all the enemies by herself, then, technically, she would be making it easier for her companions, who would be in no danger at all. Besides, she believes that the job of a tank is to be on the front lines, and that's exactly what she does every time. Shortly after, she starts asking for even more advice on how to fight better. Aurum lets out a tired sigh and tells her that she should start learning to work as a team rather than trying to do everything alone. The sooner she learns this, the better it will be for the future, when the only way to progress will be to rely on the companions. Carol doesn't like this idea one bit and finds it boring, but Logan tells her to pay attention and be grateful for receiving such good advice. He states that even the great adventurer Albert used to say that teamwork makes the dream work. Aurum then turns his attention to the blonde kid and asks if he is talking about Albert from the Clan of the Night Sky Bunnies. Logan gets excited, knowing that someone else reads, instead of acting like a barbarian inside the dungeon all the time. Aurum comments that probably everyone knows the great Albert, as he was the undisputed strongest member of the Night Sky Bunnies, and it is believed that he died fighting against the Black Dragon on floor 92 last year. Logan asserts that even in his death, Albert became a legend that will always be remembered. Carol, however, looks a bit downcast and says quietly that Albert died trying to protect one of his companions, even though that was the function of a tank. Her mood darkens even further when she continues saying that he knew his death would make the smiles disappear from his family, but still didn't care. For that reason, she believes that the best way to be a defender is to keep the person you are protecting as far away from you as possible. She concludes by saying that if she fights alone on the front lines while the team stays behind, they won't be in danger and will still be able to escape if things go wrong. Aurum notices the pain on Carol's face and decides that this is beyond his competency. As an outsider, he probably shouldn't meddle any further. So he decides to lighten the mood and tells Carol that he will be counting on her today to deal with the enemies. Immediately, her face lights up like before, and she responds enthusiastically to leave everything to her. Sophia, the attention seeker, decides right then to bring all the glances back to herself, striking a pick-me pose. She asks Aurum what she's failing at and how she can improve as a teammate and as a mage. Upon hearing this, Logan chimes in, saying he also wants to know how he can become better. Aurum asks everyone to calm down and moves forward to floor 36, where the newbies start to warm up. Selma calls Aurum, saying that this will be their last day and the most challenging one so far. Therefore, they need to make sure nothing goes wrong and complete the expedition successfully. She then turns to Aurum's group and comments that the kids seem to have developed quite a fondness for him. Aurum admits honestly that after the article in the newspaper, he thought he had lost all the respect they could have for him in an instant, but he was mistaken. These kids are much smarter and more independent than they appear. Selma agrees, saying that this group can be complicated at times, but has a bright future ahead. She then mentions that Albert's death was a huge blow to the clan, as he was their star, and after that, the clan started to fall behind rapidly. That's when Aurum's old clan, the Hero Group, took the lead. Aurum says that the Black Dragon was also extremely difficult for them, and they could very easily have lost someone in that fight, which would have completely shattered the group. Selma states that the void left by Albert remains open, and that they have never managed to fill it. Finally, she directly asks Aurum if he would like to join their group. Aurum responds that he feels honored, but says that a group doesn't need 2 enchanters, especially if one of them is the best wizard in the continent. Selma blushes, but clarifies that she didn't mean enchanter, but rather swordsman. This catches him by surprise, but Selma says that she will be watching him today to see what kind of skills he has as a swordsman. Shortly after, everyone splits into their own groups, and Aurum is left alone, with the 3 newbies he must supervise. Carol asks why they are separating so much. Since you don't like the idea of getting lost in the maze of these caves, just mumbling and say that it's good exercise, because often a group needs to split up to check several paths at the same time and find the one that leads to the boss room. That's why clans with many members like the Night Sky Rabbits always have the advantage, as they can check the entire cave system very quickly. Logan mentions that Aurum has been to the deepest floor anyone has ever reached, so they shouldn't encounter problems there. Meanwhile, Selma and Carol surround him, asking what the dungeons are like on the deeper floors and what kinds of monsters appear there. Aurum responds that the deep floors start around floor 72, where the ecosystem changes completely, transforming into a snowy, rugged mountain. There are frequent snowstorms and blizzards, as well as ice lizards lurking in the darkness, waiting for you to fall asleep. With that, Aurum asks them to focus on the current task, as he doesn't want to scare them. Now they move deeper into the dungeon. The entire cave seems empty, which makes everything strangely unsettling, and Logan comments that they haven't seen a single monster on this floor yet. He turns to Aurum and asks if floor 40 usually is like this. Aurum shakes his head, while the knot in his stomach tightens. questioning whether his bad feeling was right and if something was truly wrong with the dungeon that day. Carol starts complaining, saying that she wants to fight some monsters, when suddenly a blue goblin emerges from behind one of the rocks. Carol beams at finally seeing an enemy and immediately rushes toward it without thinking twice. Aurum tries to stop her, but it's already too late. He quickly uses a debuff to reduce the goblin's agility, slowing it down, allowing Carol to kill it with a single quick attack. She begins to celebrate, but Aurum scolds her, telling her not to rush at enemies thoughtlessly. He explains that blue goblins are very fast and strong, and that she could have put herself in danger, forcing Logan and Sophia to break formation and putting them at risk as well. Carol acknowledges her mistake, which eases the situation somewhat, and then Aurum decides to teach her an active defense style, explaining that she should focus on the enemy's movements and strike at the right moment, which is just before they launch their own attack. This would prevent the attack from happening and give a huge advantage to the rest of the group. Carol listens in admiration, but soon Logan pushes her aside and asks for guidance too. At that moment, Aurum tells everyone to turn around, as two wolf monsters are running toward them from behind. Before they can get close, a magical trap is triggered and pierces the creatures' bodies with spikes. Aurum tells Logan that he should start with trap spells, as this way the team can focus on the enemies in front, without worrying about attacks coming from behind. Logan absorbs every word eagerly, thinking to himself that he wants to become a mage just like Aurum in every way. Then Aurum turns to Sophia and says she should start learning to cast two spells at the same time. She responds that this seems complicated, but Aurum assures her that it's not as difficult as it seems, and that with a little practice, anyone can do it. He states that advanced spellcasters can even use a dozen spells simultaneously. Sophia is shocked to hear this, and asks why she can't just learn stronger versions of the spell she already uses. Aurum explains that more powerful spells require preparation time, creating periods of inactivity during which the caster is completely vulnerable. If she learns to use multiple spells, she can prepare a second spell in advance while the first is about to be cast. Thus, the downtime would be practically zero and she wouldn't be vulnerable during combat. With that, they finally arrive at the boss room, where the guides gather and ask the newcomers to stay back and watch as they deal with the enemy. Aurum enters the boss room with the others and asks them to focus on the attacks, as he will try to support them as much as possible. The fight begins, and Aurum immediately goes on the offensive, taking advantage of the perfect moment to strike and cut the monster's legs just as it was about to attack, making it stagger backward. Before the creature could retreat and regain its balance, Aurum had already set a trap behind it, creating a wall that prevents the boss from dodging. Selma immediately uses multi-casting magic, creating 5 magic circles at once and attacking, while the tank blocks and the other swordsman ends the fight with a single sword strike. The newcomers watch everything, mouths agape, as the fight ends in an instant. Logan can't believe the precision with which these rangers fight. Not a single movement is wasted. Everything is perfect. Thus, the expedition continues, clearing one floor after another until they finally reach the boss room of floor 50. The boss turns out to be a giant crab with an almost indestructible shell. Selma tells Aurum that he is the strongest among them, and that if he can cut the giant claw of the crab, the rest of the group will handle the enemy, and everyone will be able to return home for a great feast. The rum smiles, draws his sword, and confidently advances toward the monster, while the tank warns him to be careful, as the crab's shell is extremely hard and difficult to penetrate. The rum, however, seems unconcerned. He leaps into the air and strikes the sword against the joint of the crab, effortlessly severing its giant claw, eliminating the only threat they needed to worry about. With that resolved, Selma and the others easily handle the monster, and everyone applauds as the expedition finally comes to an end and they prepare to return to the celebration. However, it is interrupted when the rum feels an immense sense of dread, and suddenly, reality itself ruptures. From within the rift, the black dragon emerges, flying straight toward them. The rum's blood runs cold at the sight of the black dragon, and he screams for everyone to flee. But it seems he is the only one still able to think, because even the other rankers are frozen in place due to the immense pressure they feel. The rankers, unable to move, wonder why the hell this is happening, why a literal monster is attacking on such low-level floors. Selma is the only one who can still think somewhat, but even she cannot move. She realizes she needs to take command right then and there to ensure the newbies escape this monstrosity, but the overwhelming aura of the dragon seems to make the air heavy, sucking the oxygen out of the atmosphere. As Selma recalls all the horror stories she has heard about the black dragon, the monster that hunts adventurers and slaughters them until nothing recognizable remains, the rum immediately starts brainstorming ideas to get out of this deadly situation. It is then that he realizes they have already defeated the boss of this level, which means if they can reach the crystal at the end of the cave, they can teleport to safety. That is the only way out of this mess. Thus, he thinks of gathering the others around his plan. However, when he turns to call them, he realizes that everyone is trapped in a trance, unable to take their eyes off the monster. This is even more terrifying, as monsters are naturally attracted to large groups of people. The dragon will be no different, and if they do not move immediately, they will be exterminated on the spot. For a brief moment, the rum thinks that maybe he should just run toward the crystal, as he could certainly survive alone. But he discards that idea, immediately, disgusted with himself. He realizes he needs to fight the dragon to buy time for the others to escape safely. He decides he will not betray them, no matter what happens, and that he will defeat the dragon. With that, he firmly grips his sword and pulls it with fierce determination to protect the people he cares about. He shouts for the other guides to take their positions, which snaps them out of their trance. Selma also regains her senses and orders the others to take a defensive stance to ensure the newbies stay out of danger. Immediately, the A-rank adventurers spring into action. The mage casts a magical barrier to absorb the dragon's attack damage, but Selma realizes her magic is far from strong enough to contain the explosion. The rum, on the other hand, fearlessly advances against the dragon, but immediately casts his own protective spell to reinforce the guides. Fortunately, this is enough to save them from certain death, although they all remain deeply shaken, aware that without the rum, they would now just be a pile of ashes. The rum dodges the dragon's attack as he tactically retreats, giving the monster no opening to charge another attack, and quickly pulls out a small dagger and throws it at the creature's eye. The dragon immediately closes its eye to avoid going blind, but that was part of the rum's plan, who takes this moment to leap against the dragon, attempting to behead it with a single sword strike. The cut creates an incredibly powerful explosion, scattering dust and smoke throughout the cave, making the guides think he might have defeated the beast. But the rum knows it's not quite that simple and keeps his guard up. As the dust settles, the dragon rises again with a furious roar, completely unscathed. The rum orders the guides to protect the newbies from all sides and ensure that none of them get hurt, no matter the cost, while he distracts the dragon. Selma shows uncertainty given the situation, but the rum smiles and tells her not to worry because he already has a plan to deal with this. He asks the newbies to hold on tight and then throws himself against the dragon. The creature immediately unleashes its fiery breath and attacks the rum, who dodges the blows and begins running in circles around the monster, trying to distract it as much as possible. Selma and the others are stunned by the rum's skills and courage, considering he decided to face the dragon alone. Selma questions whether it is really the right decision to let the rum deal with that deadly beast by himself, the same one that killed the powerful hero Albert. She realizes she cares a lot about the rum at that moment and would be devastated if anything happened to him. The rum, however, is completely focused. He dodges attack after attack and even manages to reflect one of the dragon's strikes back at it, angrier still at the dark beast. Logan and Sophia are shocked to see the reflection magic, for they had never seen anything like it before, and with good reason. Not even the greatest wizards in the world can perform something like this, since the magical reflection is one of the original spells from Orum's arsenal, capable of returning any magical attack to the aggressor with double the strength. To his frustration, however, the dragon's scales are so tough that even after receiving an incredibly powerful fire breath, it remains standing completely unscathed. He realizes that he has no options left and that he will now have to take some risks. Quickly, he activates a status enhancement with multicasting, creating 6 magic circles at once and drastically increasing his potential. Selma is impressed to see this, as even high-level wizards have difficulty using multicasting with more than 3 magic circles, but Orum managed to use 6 with no apparent effort. She wonders if she should help him, since even after enhancing his own attributes, Orum still wouldn't be strong enough to deal with the monster. Before she could make a decision, Orum casts a second total attribute enhancement on himself, followed by yet another boost. In total, he multiplies and doubles his own stats 6 different times, leaving the guides speechless, as this should be completely impossible for anyone. Orum starts to shine like a Super Saiyan, with lightning enveloping his body. The dragon, however, does not seem to know what happened to Frieza at the hands of the Saiyans. So, it continues trying to attack Orum with a tail whip, but Orum vanishes and reappears hanging from a ledge so fast that Selma feels as if he teleported. Selma begins to tremble as she realizes Orum's true potential, which has gone beyond the level of any support wizard in history, and he is literally redefining the way magic is perceived, using one original spell after another. Orum descends back to the ground, but blood begins to flow from his nose. He knows that he has raised his attributes beyond human potential, but his body is still that of a human and cannot bear the burden that these stats impose. Moreover, his mana is being drained rapidly, as he is basically sustaining 32 active spells at once, a burden too great for any conjurer to maintain for long. He knows his only chance of victory is to go all out and end this fight as quickly as possible. Thus, he runs toward the dragon, dodging its attacks, and leaps to strike from above. The dragon notices this and immediately tries to knock him down with its tail, but Orum is no fool and manages to create a block of mana beneath his feet, which he uses as support, causing the dragon to miss its attack. Logan is shocked and wonders if this is yet another of his original spells. Orum then uses his special magic called Magical Convergence, capable of sucking mana from the environment and concentrating it in a small area. Oliver possesses the same ability but uses it in a wholly offensive manner, leaving all defense in Orum's hands. He charges again against the dragon and sharpens his sword before delivering another strike. This time, he succeeds and lands a devastating blow on the dragon's neck, cutting through its thick armor and injuring the flesh beneath the scales. The dragon crashes to the ground with a thunderous sound, while Logan and Sophia celebrate, believing that the dark beast has finally been defeated. Selma knows better than that and realizes that the dragon is probably only slightly injured. Orum, for his part, seems to be at his limit, staggering on the ground as he tries to regain his balance and continue the attack without giving the dragon a chance to recover. She wants to jump into the fight and help Orum, but knows that the strongest clan members together failed to land a single blow on the dragon, so what could she possibly do? The dragon rises again and uses its fiery breath to create distance between itself and Orum before channeling a large amount of dark magic around it and unleashing a shower of magical spears at Orum, who tries to use his speed to dodge most of them. Orum remembers the days when everything was colorful and happy, when he played in the streets with Oliver, with not a care in the world. But one day everything changed when bandits attacked their village and destroyed everything and everyone they loved. They stood defenseless, unable to do anything but cry in front of their own misery as the world around them burned. The next morning, they buried all the people they could find, and both swore to become stronger every day, reaching a point where they could protect the people and things that were precious to them so that nothing and no one could take them away again. Orum uses those memories as fuel as he rises from the dust and walks straight toward the dragon, refusing to yield to certain death. The dragon begins to charge its most powerful attack, one that has already killed so many adventurers that it has come to be seen as the very personification of death. Orum prepares himself, and when the dragon fires the magical spears, he weaves through them, dodging by mere centimeters. Still, he continues to advance and casts a fireball spell as a distraction before trying to sever the dragon's head. To his horror, the sword strike fails. As the dragon's scales harden like an indestructible shield, he quickly retreats. He dodges the majority of the magical spears and creates a wall in front of him to protect himself. The dragon changes its attack pattern and curves one of the spears to hit him from behind, something that would have likely killed anyone else. But Orum uses his almost divine reflexes to deflect the spear away from himself, saving his own life. He keeps pressing, dodging, and attacking the dragon, making sure not to give the creature any space to attack the newcomers. He thinks about how he used to have a team fighting by his side, each with their role, but now he is completely alone. He pushes those thoughts aside as he remembers that he vowed to defeat the dragon alone and to become an adventurer who doesn't need a group to survive in any dungeon. With that, he activates a trap card that begins to bombard the dragon with relentless precision, giving Orum time to charge his magical convergence attack in his sword, similar to Oliver's ultimate attack, with the difference that his blade is completely black. He charges the attack and strikes the dragon with all his strength, piercing through the creature's attack and hitting it squarely in the chest. However, before they can celebrate, the dragon rises again and goes on the offensive, forcing Orum to retreat and dodge attack after attack. His buffs begin to fade, so he uses the little mana that he has left to boost his attributes once more and strikes the dragon with a powerful hit, knocking it down. Still, the dragon survives and gets up again. Orum breathes heavily as he realizes that both he and the dragon are at their limits. Even his sword shatters into small pieces. Then, he decides that he will end this with one final attack or die trying. He summons a black hole in front of him and converges all the energy around, creating an extremely concentrated energy sword. Holding it with both hands, he prepares to fight. The dragon immediately fires its magical spears at Orum, but he uses his last strength. to dodge all the attacks while alternating between blocking and reflecting spells to confuse the creature. Finally, he propels himself forward using one of the reflection spells and launches himself at the dragon, delivering his most powerful attack directly to the beast's head, causing a massive explosion that covers everything in dust. When the dust finally settles, Selma finds Aurum still alive, struggling to breathe while leaning on his sword, unaware that he has just made history by becoming the first person to defeat the Black Dragon, and alone no less. When the group of heroes finally approaches the dungeon, they soon spot a teleport light outside, indicating that the forced teleportation has already withdrawn everyone from inside. There, they also find the corpse of the Black Dragon, and Oliver immediately stands guard until everyone realizes that the creature has already been defeated. Only then does Luna notice Aurum, who can barely stand, before his black sword disappears. He struggles over to her and asks her to take care of the cleanup before leaving. Luna realizes that Aurum is the only one injured, and it doesn't take long for them to understand what happened. He fought the Black Dragon alone. Eric insists that this is impossible and questions Aurum about what is happening, but he simply walks away without saying a word, which angers Dirk even more, declaring that people like him should be hanged. He states that it is obvious that Aurum defeated the Black Dragon and that they should accept their own weakness once and for all. Then, filled with rage for her always trying to tell him what to do, Dirk advances to attack her, but Luna uses a spell to instantly paralyze him. She asserts that the fight is already over, and Oliver asks them to stop, although he is clearly dissatisfied to see Aurum walking away. That night, Sophia is in her room, happy to know that her report on the expedition will be entirely about Aurum. He gave her courage, helped her cast her first advanced spell, taught her about parallel construction, and defeated the infamous Black Dragon completely alone. Aurum saved her life once again. He looks so incredible fighting, always with a gentle expression on his face. Her daydreams are interrupted when Selma enters the room in a despondent posture, her face in a complete state of exhaustion, and simply flops down on the bed without saying a word. It has been a long time since Sophia saw her sister so tired, so she asks her to at least take a bath before sleeping, or the bedding will smell bad. Selma says she will do that later, but it is evident that she won't. Thus, Sophia invites her to go to the baths together, and soon after, Selma relaxes by her side, thanking her for the invitation, and now feeling better. Selma comments that she is glad Sophia was safe that day. Sophia replies that it was thanks to Aurum, who was truly amazing. Selma doesn't comment and asks how she felt watching the fight between Aurum and the Black Dragon. Sophia calmly responds that he was very strong, and Selma admits that this is a normal reaction. He is so much more powerful than they are that it becomes incomprehensible. To her surprise, Sophia says that she managed to understand. Selma loses her composure and desperately asks her to explain. After calming down, Sophia says that his movements and magic were incredible, but that the rest were basic concepts. Exactly what he had taught about how support attackers and defenders fight. She learned a lot and finds it incredible that he can do all that alone. Selma is surprised, as she thought it was impossible to understand the strength that Absol saw in Aurum's fighting style. However, Sophia is different and interpreted what she saw in her own way. Selma smiles resignedly and says that she is amazing, but Sophia hugs her and replies that Selma is even more amazing, the person she respects the most, someone who forges her own path and upon whom many depend. That's why she wants to follow her example. Finally, Sophia says that, as incredible as she is, she shouldn't demand so much of herself. The next day, Aurum wakes up with almost unbearable pain and casts a pain relief spell to endure for a while. Thus, he manages to sit up, although his whole body hurts, and estimates that it is already close to noon. This was expected, as he had pushed himself to the limit the previous day, and was lucky not to suffer serious consequences after using so much magic. When he stands up and looks out the window, he sees Selma outside. They decide to meet, and Selma asks how he is, but Aurum lies without hesitation, saying he is fine. He thanks her for coming to visit him, but Selma unexpectedly stands up and bows before him, stating that they completed the training expedition without casualties thanks to him. Aurum is clearly surprised and asks her to lift her head, saying that someone like her shouldn't bow so easily. Selma replies that his opinion doesn't matter, as he saved her life and that of the new recruits, and she cannot thank him enough. When she finally raises her head, she asks Aurum to go to the clan immediately, as the leader wants to meet him. He agrees, since he has no other plans. At the headquarters of the Silver Bunnies of the Night Sky, Vince meets with Aurum and asks directly if he would like to join the clan, explaining that they want him to act as a frontline attacker in the most powerful unit. of the group and that he also wishes to recommend him for the position of lieutenant. Orem is stunned and remembers that he is too young, but Vince confidently responds that he has more than enough experience and power and is also polite, serious, and hardworking. Selma agrees, saying she would like to work alongside him to support the clan. Orem thinks for a moment, knowing that anyone would normally accept without hesitation, but he asks for time to reflect. Vince readily agrees, saying he can take as long as he needs. Orem thanks him and decides to leave, but he is informed that the Adventurers Guild also wants to see him. Without wasting time, he heads to the guild, still in disbelief that the silver bunnies of the night sky want to recruit him. However, he decides to visit the old master, who cannot help but laugh upon seeing him, saying he always looks so grown up that it's nice to see him act his age for once. Orem clarifies that he is serious, and that although he feels honored, he still has doubts. The elder quickly assumes that he fears being used and then discarded, commenting that perhaps using is not the best word, but believes that leaning on each other and compensating for each other's weaknesses is how people grow. Orem agrees but is still not convinced. Then, the elder suggests he think a little longer. When he finally arrives at the guild, he realizes he chose the worst possible time. The master of the guild mentions that the black dragon appeared on the 50th floor and heard that he defeated it alone. Orem confirms, but Dirk immediately downplays the feat, claiming that they had already weakened it and that he just got lucky with the final blow. Orem agrees and says he was lucky because they saved his life. Orem tells them to be quiet, claiming they are not even part of the discussion. Eric loses patience, but Luna holds him back, and the master of the guild allows Orem to speak. Without hesitation, Hawking asks Oliver why they went directly to the 92nd floor with their new enchanter. Hawking assumes that Oliver thought it would be easy because he had been there many times before, and her furious expression confirms that he is right. For her part, she then recalls that she warned countless times that it was dangerous to advance before becoming stronger. After all, there were several situations in the deeper floors where someone almost died. Oliver responds that it was precisely for that reason they got a new enchanter, with someone whose support magic was more powerful than the previous one. He believed they could go deeper. Orem understands that this was the reason they dismissed him, and clarifies that he is not angry about it. What really infuriates him is how little she seems to value enchanters. Oliver immediately retorts, saying he knows very well how important they are, and that for this reason, he decided to recruit a new one for the hero group. Then Orem asks why they started directly from the deeper floors, and if she has any idea how much concentration an enchanter needs to maintain while exploring a dungeon. Oliver does not understand the question, and believes that the enchanter's role is just to stay in a safe place and renew the buffs when they run out, something simple in her view. For the first time, Orem is genuinely angry and cannot believe she is serious. When Oliver insists she is telling the truth, Orem stands up and explains in detail. Oliver's buffs last 61 seconds, Anel's 134, and Derek's 186. That is the exact duration of each effect. And the charmer needs to control everyone simultaneously, renew them at the right moment, and still coordinate the rest of the group. So, he asks again where the simplicity lies in all of this. Oliver has no answer, but continues to be furious. Meanwhile, Group 10 walks together, and Logan asks Sophia if she knows what Rum intends to do next. Sophia replies that she hasn't heard anything, and Caroline reminds them that they didn't even get a chance to talk to him yesterday. Logan questions if they think he will join the Night Sky Silver Rabbits, and the girls admit they thought the same. They decide to ask him directly, but they don't know where he is. Sophia suggests looking for Selma first. Selma, in turn, is alone, reflecting that she would love for Orem to join them, but she doesn't know if he still wants companions. He is strong enough to go on alone, and has made it clear that he didn't need her help. Still, she said she wished to work alongside him to support the clan. When Mai, Sophia and the others approach, asking where he lives, saying they want to officially invite him. Selma explains that she also wishes for that, but acknowledges that at his current level, they might only hold him back. Logan responds that he knows that, but nonetheless, he wants him to join because only by being beside him will they understand what they need to learn. Caroline agrees, saying it's fun to train with him because they get much stronger. Sophia also states that she would like him to spend more time with them. Selma realizes they are speaking with complete sincerity. Logan adds that they may even hold him back now, but one day they will become strong enough to be recognized as his true companions. This surprises Selma, who finally admits she has been overthinking. She then decides to tell them that Orem went to the Adventurers Guild, and that if they hurry, they might still catch him. They rush out before she even finishes thanking them. Rum, for his part, leaves the guild. After they mention discussing the penalty for the heroes group due to forced teleportation, commenting only that it was their bad luck, he walks away, exhausted, when he sees the group running towards him, instinctively hiding without even knowing why. He enters an alley, but Caroline spots him from afar and they follow him. He tries to hide behind a wall, but the effort begins to take a toll on the wounds from the previous day. He doesn't even understand why he is running when Logan shouts that they just want to talk. He hesitates for a moment, but as he realizes they are getting closer, he quickly creates steps in the air and climbs onto the rooftops to escape. At noon, he decides to hide in the old man's shop, but the young people continue searching for him. The elderly man asks why he is avoiding them, and Urim admits he decided not to join another group, but he doesn't want to hurt them. The old man realizes they are important to him, and Urim does not deny it. Meanwhile, the group wonders why he is avoiding them. Logan declares that if he says no, he will leave the rabbits and become his apprentice. Caroline decides to do the same, and even Sophia hesitates, saying she doesn't want to drift away from him. The old man comments that they admire him a lot, and that when he ran there, he even seemed to be having fun. He says that he is looking for a place to belong, but he doesn't need to be alone. He can find his place beside them. Later, while Urim walks alone at night, Sophia unexpectedly finds him. The first thing she does is thank him for saving her. She asks where he had been all day, and he lies, saying he walked around the city. She explains that the location near the clan's headquarters is one of her favorites because the moon shines brightly there, even in the darkness, giving her strength. She then asks if he knows the origin of the name Night Sky Silver Rabbits. He admits he does not, and Sophia explains that the moon is called the Night Guide, and the clan wishes to be a guide for adventurers. Urim is surprised, feeling that he has heard this before, but he cannot recall when. Before he can reflect further, Sophia leans in and asks him to join the clan, as she wants to continue learning from him. The rum asks what the group means to her. Sophia replies that they have taught her a lot, given her many smiles, and that she can proudly say that this is her home, the place where she belongs. Those words ignite something in his eyes and make him reconsider. The next day, Urim has already made his decision. He goes to the headquarters of the Night Sky Silver Rabbits and finds Vince, who immediately realizes that he has an answer. Urim confirms that he has decided, calling him leader, bows, and asks for permission to join the clan. Vince accepts without hesitation, saying they are happy to have him. Selma enters smiling and congratulates him, handing him the uniform that had already been prepared. Soon after, the others arrive, running with the news that Sophia told them. When they see Urim wearing the new uniform, they understand that he is now officially part of the clan. Everyone celebrates excitedly. Urim declares that from that moment on, he is a Night Sky Silver Rabbit and hopes to work alongside them. Thus ends episode 7.